what's been on my mind. Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city light. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city.
Hi friends, good morning. It's Wednesday morning. I thought I would pick up the camera and film today. It is bright and early. I actually got up at 5. CJ and I had made a deal. We were going to go to the gym early before co-op and work out, and then come home, take showers, and get ready for co-op. I woke him up at 5. I didn't sleep well. My back was hurting. And I said, CJ, you ready for the gym? And he said, no, let me sleep, which it's fair and it tracks because he worked the rodeo last night and he didn't get home till midnight. So I know he was tired. But I took that as, you know what, I'm going back to bed too. And I got back in bed and then I was like, wait, I had a Walmart order to pick up on the way home from the gym. And it's not very much, but just a few things. And so I was like, well, I got an hour to sleep and then I'll have to head over there. So I set my alarm for an hour, went back to sleep. I got up, threw on some clothes, and I just picked up my Walmart order. And I splurged today and got a coffee because, again, I did not sleep well. And they gave me their morning sticker drop, which is cute. I put those actually in my planners. I just put them all over the inside of cover of my planners and keep them. But now I'm headed home, gonna unload this stuff and get kids ready for co-op. Mika stayed the night with her friend last night, so we just have to bring her lunch with her, or for her. She will be there when we get there. But she went with her best friend to aviation school last night and had a sleepover and stuff. And so since she was going to that and CJ was gone to work, my dad said he would buy me and the younger kids dinner so I didn't have to cook for just the 3 little kids. So we went and ate Chinese food with my dad, got to spend some time with him. That was nice, you know, just some family time. But, you know, things are going good. I mean, I do have lingering stress. If you're not new here, you already know. If you're new, me and my kids have just left a domestic situation, and it ended in my husband going to jail for beating my 17-year-old son with a flagpole. And we have been through literal hell with this. He was arrested. He went before the judge and they released him and dropped the charges. After all 5 of my kids, you know, had spoken to the police, they'd given their testimonies, you know, and they dropped the charges. They said that they didn't think that they would hold in court, that the judge or whoever would say that my son was probably just a problem 17-year-old and that was the issue, which is honestly furthest from reality than anything could possibly be. I have a very, very, very grounded 17-year-old. He works for my friend Mika and her husband. He works for my sister's husband. For those two, it's like demolition work, landscaping and mowing, roofing. He'll work with my sister and her husband on their food truck if they need him. You know, he mows my dad's yard for him every few weeks. He keeps our yard mowed. He cuts our firewood. He power washes the porch for me when Bubba doesn't put the chickens up and they poop on my porch. You know, he babysits his siblings for me so that I know that, you know, they're being watched well and doing their schoolwork while I'm at work. He is very grounded in church. He never misses church for any reason. unless like I'm sick and I don't take them, and even then sometimes he'll go with friends to church. He's very much a part of our co-op group, and he is in golf and fencing and student council and Turning Point USA, and he's a very good kid, and to have him labeled as probably a problem really hurt me, because I have put my whole life into my kids, and I've done everything for my kids, even when it hurt, and so anyways, they dropped all the charges, but they did forensic interviews with my kids, and then from my kids' interviews they turned around and put like a bunch new charges on James. He was rearrested at court over our protective order. They ended up pushing our protective order hearing again. They have pushed every hearing since June by a month or two or whatever each time, but he was rearrested. He was charged with all those charges. When he went to court for them all, they turned around and dropped almost all of them again, and only kept the charge of pointing a firearm. I'm working with them on, they said that later if we felt they could re-add charges back, and I am trying to get one of the charges put back on there, because for my kids it was really hurtful that they removed that charge, because it was something that they all felt should have stayed, and so I'm working on that. I'm writing something up for the DA's office on that, requesting that they put that charge back on there. But yeah, so he has criminal court for those charges that are still pending, October 16th, and that's only 15 days away from today. I mean, it probably won't be by the time I upload this video, but today's October 1st. And we don't know what's going to happen with that, but we pray every day that we finally get some little bit of justice for what we went through. Because, I mean, in all honesty, if every time they file charges and then they drop them, it's like somebody stabbing you in the gut. It really is, because it's like, oh, we're going to give you a little justice now and make you feel like, you can have faith in the fact that bad people have to, face the things they do, their consequences. And then they're like, oh, just kidding, that's how it feels. And so we'll see what happens October 16th. And we'll see if they also get him served with the divorce papers, because I've got them filed with my new attorney, which my attorney retired, so I had to get a new attorney. But I really like the new attorney. But yeah, he got the divorce papers filed, and the custody and the request for child support and all that filed, and they were going to serve James at our hearing for the protection order last month, or in September, which doesn't feel like last month because it was yesterday, and he didn't show up. So instead of granting it or doing something to our benefit, since we were there and he was not, they just pushed it to November 4th. So I pushed again. So they also combined divorce proceedings with that in November, but that's only if they get him served. His criminal court October 16th. If he shows up for criminal court, they're going to serve him there. But we don't know if he's going to show up because he didn't show up to protective order court, so we'll see. But it's been, it's been hard. But honestly, like, the stress that I'm under now is a much different stress than the stress that I was under living in the same house as him. Going through every day trying to constantly keep my kids away from him so that if he had a mood swing, the kids weren't around, but I was, or not knowing when we sat down to dinner if he was going to look at his food or take a bite of his food and then throw his plate across the house, or if he was going to eat the food and hush. You know what I mean? Probably don't know what I mean, because I realize that, like, a lot of things I say when I talk about it are because I've become so numb to the way things were with him. It's not normal for somebody to throw a plate at you because they don't like what you made them. But it was normal for me. But yeah, I wouldn't know when we sat down to dinner. And he'd sit down and he'd be like holding a conversation with everybody and pretending to be like super happy and super like nice, and everybody'd be looking at me. Okay, sorry. CJ called me to tell me that he was up and they were getting ready for class. But what was I talking about? I know I was talking about everything, but like, there would be times at dinner where James would be like overly nice and overly friendly and joking with everybody, and everybody'd be looking at me like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden he would pick up his plate or a cup and launch it across the room and start screaming at somebody, and then get up and announce that this is why he can't even have dinner, and storm out of the house, and he'd go to Whataburger or whatever, which I'm not sure if that was like one of his schizophrenic meltdowns or if that was his way of just getting to go eat junk, like, honestly, because he was so manipulative, but he also would fly off the handle, so I just don't know. But I know that he hated eating anything I made that was anywhere near healthy. He wanted everything deep fried or ramen or hot dogs or things like that constantly. Things that I don't like to feed my kids, and I won't feed my kids all the time. And so he would have a lot of meltdowns over food. But it would just be like, he'd be talking to everybody and he'd be fine. All of a sudden he'd be like, and by the way, and he would just snap. And so things like that, like, there's such a different peace over the house. Like, when we sit down for dinner, we've been doing a lot of family style dinners where we just put all the food out on the table and we sit together and we all eat and we laugh and we talk about church and we talk about co-op and we talk about our friends and family, and we just kind of have a big family dinner together, me and the kids. And so, like, things like that have gotten to be so much better. There's a lot of financial stress, but I would trade right now the financial stress 1,000,000 times over for the peace that my kids have now. I start thinking about bills and all the things that need to be done, and I start having chest pain from, like, anxiety over those things, and I've been really working to give those things to God and let them go, even when it's really, really hard. Like, right now, my furnace doesn't work. It quit working last winter. James took my thermocouple out and took sandpaper to it, which probably wasn't smart. And then he put it back in and it wouldn't work. So then he started beating on the furnace with a wrench, which is also not smart. And then he just announced that we could all just be cold. But then him and CJ started cutting firewood. But, he had to make sure that it was everybody else's fault that it didn't work. And so we burned firewood all last winter, which was fine. But we had agreed that we would get it fixed in the spring. And before this winter we'd have a working furnace, but that didn't happen. When spring came, he just kept putting it off, and then June hit and everything hit the fan, and so it never got fixed. So I need to get my furnace fixed. I know that just the service call and stuff is $120, and then depending on what's wrong with it, it goes from there. It's, I don't know. And I haven't even had him come look at it yet because I'm scared to find out how much it's gonna cost. Yeah. And then at one point, James pulled out the dishwasher his dad had just bought a few months before he passed, and he hooked up the water lines to the fridge. He pushed the dishwasher back in, and he couldn't get the door to close, so he started slamming it until he broke the dishwasher, and it wasn't getting power anymore. It wouldn't work anymore. Like, it just quit working. And I'm sorry guys, I'm on my dirt road. And we could not use the dishwasher. What we didn't know, mind you, that was like March, April. What we didn't know was that when he was slamming that dishwasher around, he broke a water line to the dishwasher from my sink. Again, doesn't sound like a big deal. You can replace a water line, and we did. But the problem isn't the water line. The problem is all the water that leaked into my kitchen floor, and I have hardwood floors in this log house. All that water that leaked into those floors for March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. In the last several weeks, my kitchen floor started buckling and the wood's popping up and it's sinking where my fridge is, and it's bad. And CJ and I pulled the dishwasher out and we found the water leak. We fixed the water line. We went ahead, took the dishwasher all the way out because it's useless. But I had somebody come look at my floor, and they said that because it's up underneath my kitchen counters, they're going to have to pull my kitchen counters out as well to remove it all, to get all the mold and everything, which means it's going to turn into not just my floors, but my counters and my countertops being replaced, because my countertops are actually little individual tiles, and so once they pull all that out, it's all going to need redone. So it's going to turn into thousands of dollars worth of work. And I've noticed that next to my bathtub, there's a spot where there's, I think, a piece of wood rotting underneath the tile because there's a soft spot. So that's going to be on the project list after the kitchen. He called and had my washer and dryer taken from the rental place because, we were paying monthly on those, and by we I mean I. They were in his name, but I was using my YouTube payments to pay for the washer and dryer because he was like, F you, if you could wash dishes by hand, you shouldn't have broke your washing machine. Mind you, I didn't break my washing machine, it just broke. And so I made the payments on the washer and dryer this whole time. And we only owed $400 left on them. And he refuses to let them just put them in my name and to sign off on that. He wanted them repossessed. And so, in doing so, they said that I could sign to take them over and then be mine, but I would have to start the payments all over again from $1,400, which means that I would be paying a total of $2,400 for this washer and dryer that is a used set. And so, I just told them, take them. And of course, they've told me 5 different times they're going to come today and get them, but they're sitting in my front yard because I just got them out of the house. That way, there's no fight over them. And I went and got a used washer and dryer, but that was $475 and took a vast chunk of my part-time paycheck that I get to put those in the house so that we have a working washer and dryer that nobody can take. And then I am making payments on a lawnmower, because even though we have 2 lawnmowers here, anytime James would leave out for work or be gone a few days, he would take and drain gas and oil from the side-by-side, the lawnmowers. He would hide the keys. He would pull spark plugs out of things, whatever he could do to disable things, disconnect batteries, whatever. And so that me and the kids couldn't use them, because he didn't want anybody using anything without his permission. And so we can't get any of them to run. And so I ended up having to pay a rental payment for a lawnmower, because my grass in my driveway was like 4 foot tall, and it was probably a foot tall in my yard. And so in comes the rental payments, because I can't afford to just go buy a lawnmower. So making payments on a lawnmower now instead of a washer and dryer. Yeah, but it's been one thing after another. You know, he contacted my insurance office after I took his truck off the insurance when he was arrested and things, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford all the extra payments on everything. And he called the insurance office and had them add his truck back to it. And I was like, why is my insurance payment so high again? And they looked, and his truck was on there, and I was like, no, absolutely not. And I made him take it back off, but I still had to pay that payment that was due, because, you know, if not, I wasn't paying my insurance. And so it's been rough. You know, he had our electric disconnected and internet, and without internet, we have no way for my kids to contact anybody, because our phone service is so spotty down here that they can't even, you know, make phone calls without my Wi-Fi. And he had those shut off on a day. It was like 9900 degrees at noon, like just middle of the day, just shut off our electric. We currently have pay-as-you-go electric, which I didn't even know was a thing, but it was something my attorney's office was able to get my electric company to do. And while it's great, because I didn't have the $650 something for the deposit, you know, I can't make pay arrangements. I can't do anything like that on my electric if I, for some reason, can't afford it. Like if I get sick and miss work, I just won't have electric. And so that's frustrating. I have $400 paid toward the deposit that's sitting on my account on hold for the deposit. So I'm, you know, I'm close, but I'm still close to $300 short. And so I'm just paying a little bit at a time on it as I can. And hopefully I'll have a deposit soon, and they'll be able to switch me to a regular electric account. But right now we're on the prepaid thing. But yeah, it's financially, it's been draining. And then adding, like yesterday, as soon as I got paid and paid all the bills, and we had firewood ordered for next week to be delivered, because we can't get any of the chainsaws working. And I had to order propane to be delivered, because we have like 15% of my propane tank left, and we need propane for hot water and our stove. And what does that mean? Hold on a minute. Apparently we have this issue now too, whatever that means. I'm gonna have to call somebody. As I was talking, that light started flashing, and then it said FCW system failed, and like I could feel my van start rattling. And I looked it up, and it said to check my gas cap, so I checked that, but that didn't seem to help the issue. And it's still doing it, and like my van's shaking really hard when I drive it. So I have no idea what to do about that at all. It's like the hits just keep slamming me. Somebody told us to have CJ pull the first coil pack and switch it with a third coil pack. And if it's still having an error, then we know that it's not the coil packs. And CJ understood that, so he's doing that for me. It is now Thursday morning. A friend of mine let me borrow her car so the kids can go to their classes today. So I'm getting them up and going and dropping them off, and we're going to get the mail on the way there.
Days.
What is it?
Then, I don't know what it says.
Pull it out of there. Monopoly.
Literally Monopoly.
But you can't play it till after co-op, okay?
Yep. When we get home. Thank ya.
Hey guys, so I was gonna film yesterday, and then just to put it very blunt, everything went to crap. You know, I was sitting there talking about like how we had so much stuff going on and I didn't know how I was gonna be able to do it, but I'm trying. And then my van started shaking and all my sensors and things started going off, and I had like a check engine light and a forward collision light and a rear collision light and like everything flashing, and it went from saying 79 miles to empty to 20 miles to empty. And I was like, what in the world? So I kind of inched it up the driveway. It wouldn't barely drive, but I got it home, unhooked the battery and stuff, let it sit a while, restarted it. Still wasn't doing anything like it was supposed to. Still had all these sensors going off. A friend of mine and her husband came out and looked at it, and they did all kinds of stuff to it. He's going to change the spark plugs today and see if that'll fix it. They loaned me one of their vehicles last night, and so today I took kids to co-op because they missed co-op yesterday. So I took them to co-op, and then I went to our local food pantry. They give you like a small box of stuff, so I got that. And then I went to pick Penny back up from co-op because me and the lady at the church were talking for a little bit. And it's like nothing refrigerated in the box. It's all like pantry type items. So I went and picked her up, took her to her dentist appointment, brought her back because it's in one town away from where the co-op is. And then I picked Bubba up and took him the other direction for his orthopedic appointment. He has a fracture in the bone where his growth plate is. And so he's in a boot. Brought him back to co-op for his last period and his play practice. Came back home. I just swapped laundry and what else did I do? Filled the sink up with soapy water to wash these dishes I've collected around the house. And George, you okay? And then I put 3 pounds of ground deer, 1.5 pounds of ground pork, and a package of pico that I had gotten on markdown at Walmart a while back on sale that I threw in the freezer. In this cast iron pan, I'm cooking it to make some chili, and we're gonna have chili for dinner. I should have started it this morning, but I just didn't have time, and so getting it going, gonna cook the meat and then get it all in the crock pot. This and this are ground deer. This was vacuum sealed. This one was in like the tubes, but 1.5 pounds of each, 1.5 pounds of ground pork, and then the pico. Like I said, I'm gonna cook all this up and get our chili going. As far as my van, there is like 30 things that can set off the sensors that are triggered right now. A leaky gas cap, which somebody brought me a gas cap yesterday and we changed it, so that's not the issue because it's still doing the code. It can be the spark plugs, it can be your cylinder packs or something like that, cylinder coils, something. It can be your injectors, it can be your airbags, it can be like if your airbag sensors are off, it'll throw off your collision sensors. If your spark plugs are bad, it'll throw off your sensors. If your battery's bad, it'll throw off your sensors. Like, there's so many different things. So when they looked at my spark plugs, they are the factory spark plugs. And this is a 2015 minivan with 120,000 miles on it, and nobody's ever changed the spark plugs. So we're hoping that that's going to be it, and it's nothing major because I have to work tomorrow, and if I don't have a vehicle, I'm going to lose my job. So I don't know, but that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it's not one thing, it's another, and that's the truest thing ever. But I'm gonna make this chili. I'm gonna go make my bed, try to fold some of the towels and clean up the pantry some more. I was kind of organizing it a bit and get this meat cooked as I go, and hopefully get a few different things done around here. I just added some garlic in here, and I'm still kind of cooking this away. So far, I have diced tomatoes, 2 of these small tomato sauces because that's what I have, and I drained some pinto beans and added those. I'm going to add my meat to this, and then I'll season it. Hear me out. My chili looks really dry. I don't have any other tomato sauce, tomato paste, crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes that I can blend up, anything like that. So I'm going to put this mild red enchilada sauce in here. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to add some oregano, if I can get it out of here. Oregano. We're going to put a good amount of cumin in here. We're going to do some onion powder. We're going to do some more garlic. And we're going to do chili powder. This looks really good. I'm actually really happy with that. Look at that. That's it for this video. That's where I actually stopped filming because my friend and her husband got there and they started working on my van and working on the spark plug. So I stopped filming here and I didn't get to show you guys everybody's chili finished or anything like that. I'm sorry. It's just been a long couple days. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time with another one. Bye.